Alright, hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So today I thought I would review a movie that I saw yesterday, and that is Sam Raimi's new movie, Send Help. And this movie stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien as our two main characters, Linda Little and Bradley Preston. So the basic gist of this movie is you have Linda Little who works. She's an accountant. She's a strategist, and Bradley Preston just became the new head. Just became her new boss. His father just died. And Bradley Preston has become the new CEO of the company that she works for. And Linda Little is not the most likable of lead characters. She doesn't really have any people skills. She lacks charisma and charm. Again, she doesn't really have any people skills. She doesn't really have any friends, reminds me very much of myself. No, I'm just kidding. No, she doesn't really have any friends, because of it. Nobody at the office really likes her. People, her boss, her new boss included, they make fun of her. Her new boss is just absolutely disgusted by her. By her, lack of people skills and just like her as a person, pretty much. And now she was promised a promotion by her previous boss, which was, Dylan's father. She was promised a promotion by him, but he ends up giving that promotion to somebody else. And Linda is obviously, very upset by this, is very turned off by it, but she ends up, and when she ends up, confronting him about it, he ends up saying, I'll tell you what, I'll take you on, on this trip that we're going on. On this trip that we're going on. They're going on a business trip to Bangkok. Or they end up going, on a business trip to Bangkok. And their plane ends up crash landing on this deserted island. Linda and Bradley are the only survivors that come out of the wreckage. And now Linda is obsessed with the TV show Survivor. So when when they crash land, on this island, Linda is pretty much, Linda knows exactly what to do. Linda pretty much, already knows what to do. So Bradley basically has to depend on Linda, for his survival. Bradley ends up, and when they get to this island, obviously, the tensions are very high. He doesn't, they don't really like each other. He doesn't, he can't stand her. He can't stand her, but he basically has to depend on, on Linda for his very survival, because, he obviously has no clue what to do, so he has to depend on her, to teach him, like how to cook, how to hunt, how to hunt for food, how to survive, how to survive, on this island. And it's an interesting movie. It's an interesting movie. It's an interesting concept. I gotta say though, the third act is really, really when I started, to get into this movie, because by the third act, that's when, that's when, like the Sam Raimi, style, like really, really starts to kick in. And the movie does I will say, the movie does a really, really good job at making you think, that, okay, the movie's going to go one way, that at making you think, okay, yeah, the movie's going to go this way. And then it does a completely, like 180, and it ends up being, and it turns into something else entirely. Um, it's very much like, to me it felt like that twist and from Dawn Till Dusk, where it's like one thing, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's something else. And it wasn't a bad movie by any means. It wasn't, this wasn't my favorite movie that Sam Raimi's put out. Um, I of course am no stranger to Sam Raimi. I watched Spider-Man when it came to theaters all those years ago. Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. I love the Evil Dead movies. Um, so I am no stranger to to Sam Raimi as a filmmaker. Um, the but honestly, I found the first two acts of this movie really kind of dull. The characters themselves, there's really no one to root for in this movie because the characters are just so friggin' obnoxious. It's like, to me it felt like, to me it felt like I was to me it felt like I was stuck in a room, and I was with, a group of guys, and we were all, talking, having a good time. But there's this one person, in the room that's just always trying to butt in. He's like the thing that won't shut up. And that's what this movie felt like to me. And that's what this movie felt like to me. It was kind of off-putting, to be honest. And again, it wasn't a bad movie by any means, but it definitely wasn't my favorite, movie that Sam Raimi's ever put out. Some of the CGI was also very questionable. For example, some of the animals in this movie, you could just tell you could just tell that they were CGI. They weren't the CG. Some of the CGI effects were not convincing at all. Um, I will say though, the movie's third act, like when that Sam Raimi, tone, when that Sam Raimi style really, really starts to kick in, that is really when I started to get really, really invested in this movie. And there is a twist at the end of the movie. There is a twist that me personally I didn't see coming, though given Sam Raimi's style and being no stranger to Sam Raimi's style, it's a twist that I probably should have saw coming. Um, but this movie, if I had to give it a ranking, I would say it's a well done movie. Like, it's well shot, it's well acted, it's very, very well written. It's very, very, well put together. Um, but just, like some of the writing and some of, not being able to really care about any of the characters, despite that twist, at the end, I'm gonna give this a light, recommendation, and just say, unless you're a diehard Sam Raimi fan, uh, you can probably skip this one. But yeah, but anyway, so I'm gonna give this a light recommendation and say, see it if you want, but I'm not gonna give it. I'm not going to give it, any type of, like, oh my God, like, you have to see this movie. But yeah, anyway, so let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you saw it and what you thought of it. And like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.